We preview Lakers Rockets with Jackson Gatlin of Locked On Rockets. Plus, JJ Redick updates the health of Luka Doncic and Austin Reaves. That's next.
You are Locked On Lakers, your daily Los Angeles Lakers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks to everybody for stopping by. Locked On Lakers, Brian Kamenetsky with Andy Kamenetsky. We'll get to our two-part Lakers-Rockets preview with Locked On Rockets host Jackson Gatlin in just a second. First, want to update, though, people on the happenings at practice on Tuesday. The good news, I guess, Andy, is that everyone who is available was able to go and practice, meaning Jaxson Hayes was back on the floor. So that is excellent news.
He said that his foot was feeling much better from several days off, and he never had any doubt that he would play in the playoffs. He would have pushed through, but it's good to know he's feeling better.
The headliner, of course, update is with Luka Doncic and Austin Reaves. Luka wasn't physically there. Austin was. Both remain out indefinitely, and JJ said there won't even be any more health updates this week on either guy. So with all of that in mind, plenty to dive into. Again, a two-part series previewing Lakers Rockets. We start this one by asking Jackson as many questions as we can possibly think of about the Rockets and get you Lakers fans ready for the series. Let's get down to it, Andy, because this is a first round series that 2 weeks ago would have looked a lot more intriguing. I think the ESPN poll of its 12 insiders, where 11 picked the Rockets. JJ Redick said before the series that before the playoffs, I should say, that he knew that everybody in the West, all three teams that theoretically could have played the Lakers in the first round, all wanted to. I assume that is true of the Rockets.
It absolutely was. I think that, when you look at the kind of the pecking order of the Western Conference, I actually think that the Lakers and, unfortunately, the Rockets were probably the two teams that looked maybe the weakest of that kind of top six jumble out West, right? So you've got OKC and San Antonio in their own tier, but then that jumble of Denver, LA, Houston, and Minnesota, every one of these four teams have inherent flaws, weaknesses, ways that they can be exploited. And even with a healthy Luka and Reaves, right, this Lakers team still had issues, right? And I think you could look at that for all four of those teams. And I think that a lot of teams were looking at both LA and the Rockets as the two kind of easiest outs, not including the eventual whoever claims the 7th and 8th spots.
When last we, and by we I mean the Lakers, saw the Rockets, they were struggling at the hands of the Lakers. KD was openly grousing a bit about his role. The vibes were not good. You and I actually spoke on my ESPN LA Lakers show, Lakers Talk, about how there could be some lingering bad feelings post-Burnergate. The Rockets have since closed out the season very strong. What changed, either on the court, off the court, both?
They had, so in addition to the back-to-back Lakers losses, which basically all but guaranteed that they would have zero chance at like leapfrogging the Lakers in the standings. Although the Lakers gave them a run for their money there at the tail end of the season. This almost was an inverse 4-5 matchup here at the very end. But the Rockets then proceeded to struggle. They lost a game against Chicago. They lost against Minnesota, and the Minnesota loss, the historic loss, was a pretty bitter pill for that team to swallow. The first team in NBA history, teams were 180-0 after leading by 10 plus in OT, and then the Rockets went on to lose, giving up that run at the end of the game to the T-Wolves.
History, baby.
Oh, I love the graphics. Oh man. Okay, I gotta improve over at LOR. That's amazing. Look, so basically before the next game after that Wolves loss, it was a game against the Grizzlies, I believe it was. And Rockets just had they had a team meeting, right? And they addressed a bunch of things. And sometimes those team meetings, right, those players only meetings can go one of two ways. It's a very clear like fork in the road inflection point for a team, for an organization. And sometimes it's exactly what the organization needed, right? Sometimes the guys rally, good things start happening. Other times it can be a total disaster, a mess, and things just get worse from that point on out, right? Guys feel called out or frustrated, and they don't take the criticism well, all that good stuff. I think for the Rockets, it clearly worked, right? They addressed a lot of things. And then internally, we started seeing some pretty sweeping changes. We saw the Rockets introduce Reed Sheppard to the starting lineup officially, right? We saw Aaron Holiday reintroduced into the rotation. We saw the Rockets playing with a lot more ball movement, more spacing, more energy, really being intentional about a lot more things offensively than they had been throughout the season. And it really started to rub off. All the guys started playing a lot better, and they went on that 8-0 run to close out the season. Would have potentially been a 10-0 run to close out the year and have all that momentum going into the playoffs. They couldn't quite get it done against a T-Wolves team that was missing a lot of its key contributors, but they really did find something in the aftermath of that really embarrassing loss against the Wolves. And the Rockets are playing some of the best basketball that they played all season to close out the year. They're peaking at the right time.
So I want to, Andy and I, the goal, what we're doing here, we're going to kind of grill Jaxson about the Rockets. And then Jackson's going to turn around and grill us about the Lakers on a second preview show. And so content galore for Rockets and Lakers fans. I want to talk a little bit about just KD and how he fits into this team, this culture, because for a guy who is, obviously, one of the generational players the league has ever seen, there still is this very much kind of lingering belief, and I'm not without some cause, that he's not like a team leader. He's not a guy who builds culture. He's not any of that. What is his role with this Houston team? Not necessarily on the floor, but where does he fit in off of it?
I think that ultimately, and I think one of the incidences that you're probably highlighting here, right, is the whole like KD Twitter files stuff, right, back around the All-Star break, and not a great look, right, not really a way. And this was something that Kevin Durant and the Rockets chose to address and handle internally, right? We got kind of a little bit of PR speak about my teammates know what it is and all this stuff, and unfortunately, we'll never really know the full truth behind it, right? Only those that were actually involved in it will know how severe it actually was. Were any of the images actually doctored? Did he really say those things? Like all that stuff, right? But the Rockets,
I kind of feel like not denying it is an admission, because I know if I truly had nothing to do with it, I would have stated unequivocally I had nothing to do with that.
Yeah, but it's also one of those, like, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't, right? Because if you say I had nothing to do with it, then it's like, okay, well, he definitely did it, right? Like,
no, but at least I would put what I know to be the truth.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman, right?
Right.
So, like, what do you do, right?
Right, but at least I'm just saying, you're correct that there are going to be people that don't believe Durant, particularly because he lives online and he's been caught with burners. I understand all that. I'm simply saying that if I know that I did not do this, I would at least say I didn't do it. And if people don't want to believe me, they don't believe me.
So I think with KD, like, leadership styles are so interesting, right? Because there's a ton of different leadership styles. And while Kevin Durant doesn't necessarily have like this, rah, like in your face, like demonstrative leadership style, I do really feel like he has done a lot for the members of the Rockets, like young core, right? Like throughout this entire season, we've really seen, both on and off the court, the way that Kevin Durant has taken a lot of the young guys under his wing, the way that he gets up for their successes, the way that he encourages them, tries to motivate them, and I think that in and of itself, that's leadership, right? Now, is Kevin Durant the same type of leader as a Fred VanVleet or a Dylan Brooks, who were two of the most, two very instrumental pieces of this Rockets turnaround and kind of establishing the culture that Ime Udoka wanted in Houston? Not quite, right? They're very different people. They're different human beings. And I think at the end of the day, there's a lot of gray area when you get into the conversation of Kevin Durant's leadership. I certainly shared the similar belief of like, oh, Kevin Durant's not a great leader, right? Like everywhere he goes, his leadership's been in question, all this stuff, drama follows him, things like that. But after seeing and experiencing it firsthand up close here in Houston, I can very confidently say Kevin Durant is a good leader. Is he a perfect leader? No. Is he a flawed leader at times? Yes. Do you want him to be more vocal or more demonstrative or, things like that? Sure, but he's also very transparent. He's very candid in a lot of his answers and responses with the media, and he's not afraid to share his mind, or at least he wasn't before the KD file stuff came out, right? Because now he's gone almost radio silent on Twitter, unless it's stuff for Boardroom or any of his business ventures. So I think that Kevin Durant as a leader has been, I won't say like everything the Rockets could have wanted, but Kevin Durant, like in totality, has been everything the Rockets could have wanted and more when they made that trade.
Where do you suspect his head is at right now in terms of heading into the playoffs? I asked just because he was considered the piece that they were missing heading into the playoffs. And Brian and I have talked in a recent show about how I would imagine, as much as I know LeBron wants to fuel an upset, he likely recognizes that he's got very little to lose in this series because the ask is so big and the odds are against him. KD is expected to lead the Rockets through the playoffs, but particularly this matchup. So, and he is aware of the conversations about him. So that's really that's really specifically why I'm asking.
Yeah, the weight, all the weight of this matchup is on Houston, right? And a lot of it is on Kevin Durant. That being said, right, it's still not, this is not the version of the Rockets that we were expecting to see this season, right? Obviously injuries are a part of the game, but Kevin Durant has had to adapt and, change his game substantially to kind of facilitate, as oftentimes the primary initiator for this Rockets offense, right? When they went and got him as the missing piece, the piece they thought would put them over the top and kind of push them into those championship conversations, that was a different version of this team, a version of this team that doesn't currently exist, right? No Fred VanVleet, no Steven Adams. Dorian Finney-Smith has been one of the worst free agency signings in Rockets history. You guys are welcome for that. The ankle surgery did not go over well. He is a shell of his former self. He's not even in the rotation is the problem. And he wasn't good when he was in the rotation. So the Rockets are down effectively 3 of the guys that projected to be their top 6 or 7 role players in, come playoff time. But even setting all that aside, right, the expectation, the ask is still the Rockets should win this easily, right? Like this is a injury-riddled Lakers team with 2 of their top 3 guys out. And so from that perspective, yeah, there's probably a lot of pressure on KD, but by that same token, I think organizationally, I don't think there's like any internal pressure of like, oh, if something goes sideways or whatever. This Rockets team knows that like they should win this series and ideally have a competitive second round series against probably the Thunder. Don't write it off yet. Maybe an upset. Who knows? But, their eyes are, I think, set on just doing what they can this year, getting the experience again for the young guys in the playoffs, guys who had either, never been to the playoffs or only, last year was their first taste of playoff basketball, and then resetting and having next season, right? Having a healthy Fred, having a healthy Steven Adams, and more or less running the same team back because Kevin Durant has offset all these losses, right? He comes in and replaces Jalen Green and Dillon Brooks. He's helping to offset the loss of Fred VanVleet and Steven Adams and DFS and all of that. The Rockets managed to match their win total from last season with all those guys no longer in the picture. And it's not all KD, right? Some of it's internal growth, younger guys getting better, the other additions of Josh Okogie, Clint Capella, but a lot of it is Kevin Durant. And he has been nothing less than absolutely outstanding for this organization in his time here.
What has changed about the Rockets offense, which went from something that people saw as a potential soft spot and vulnerability into something that has been quite outstanding over the last few weeks? So we'll get into that next.
Locked on Lakers and Locked on Rockets brought to you by 5 Hour Energy Drink. If you're someone with a sweet tooth, you know that it is difficult to find the perfect treat without all the sugar, and that's why the Fruity Rainbow 5 Hour Energy Shot brings the nostalgic flavor back in a whole new way. Fruity Rainbow 5 Hour Energy Shots treats your taste buds to an explosion of fruity flavor with a tasty caffeine kick. It's an easy, quick way to satisfy that sweet craving while keeping things simple and on the go. It's a 0 sugar indulgence that is really important to me. I tend to eat pretty clean, tend to indulge that way pretty clean. Plus, I've had some dental work over the last couple of years. I don't want to add to this with some excess sugar, those problems. And I love how convenient it is too. It's just a small portable shot I can grab whenever I need a little pick me up. You can put the thing in your pocket for later and go. Get candy flavored chaos with Fruity Rainbow 5 Hour Energy Shots. Available at 5hourenergy.com or Amazon.
The Rockets offense, and Lakers saw it in those games that they beat the what we call the baseball series, where we're playing 2 games in Houston. the Lakers made the Rockets offense look gummy. It looked stuck in the mud at different times. And I know that's been the criticism throughout the year that, statistically they haven't necessarily.
I just want to clarify the Lakers didn't do that. The Rockets do that themselves. For a chunk of the season, they did that.
The Lakers did it to them, Jaxson. Because that's what we do or did back when things were going better. But like that was the basic criticism of the Rockets. It's like, it's not that statistically, it's not that they were a bad offense. They weren't like the 24th ranked, offense in the league and stuff like that. They've been, depending on your metrics and all that. But like the last few weeks, they've not been like better. They've been legit excellent in things measured by like offensive rating and things like that. What has changed?
Well, it's funny you say 24th because the funny thing is the Rockets offense for basically the entire Ime Udoka era has been a lot of smoke and mirrors. It is an offense that is entirely propped up by second chance points and offensive rebounding, because the way that second chance points and offensive rebounding are calculated when you look at offensive rating is you're double dipping on the same possession. And so you get like a disproportionate benefit when you get multiple offensive rebounds on one possession, and then you eventually score the bucket. And so the Rockets were managed to offset what was, I believe, it might still be there. I don't have the numbers right in front of me. Their half court offense was bottom 5 in the NBA for most of the season. Like we're talking about teams like the Grizzlies and Jazz had better half court offensive ratings than this Rockets team throughout most of this NBA season. So when we say the Rockets offense has been a problem and has historically been a problem under Ime Udoka, it is no laughing matter. It has been an issue, but because of their elite ability to crash the offensive glass, the running joke, like with the Rockets broadcast team and like amongst Rocket fans, is sometimes just like, put it up. That's the best offense. Put it up, get it on the glass, and then get an offensive rebound and get a putback, right? Here's the problem. The Rockets had like an identity, right, of like a possession maxing identity with Fred VanVleet limiting turnovers, taking care of the basketball, and they were one of the best assist to turnover ratio teams in the association with him. And then Adams, best offensive rebounder in the NBA, all those second chance opportunities. They were just winning the possession battle against everybody. You lose both of those guys, that's a huge chunk of that identity, and the Rockets never pivoted from that identity. And when you don't have two of your best weapons to like make that identity come true, you get what we got for most of this season. The pivot came when we started to see the Rockets actually embracing some creativity on offense. And this has been my biggest gripe. I think Ime Udoka is a great coach, but I think he's at times very limited and unimaginative on offense. I joke sometimes that Ime Udoka's ideal outcome of a game would be winning 2-1. Right? Just the most low scoring, ridiculous game ever, right? He wants to win with defense so much so that I think sometimes it blinds him to what could be possible offensively, right? It's so much so that we see, Reed Sheppard has had incredible flashes this season for the Rockets. He wins the minutes that he's on the floor. He's a net rating monster. And yet sometimes he gets benched because he's a defensive liability. But if the minutes that you play and you're a net positive, then like you should play more minutes. And so that was part of it, right? Is Reed Sheppard in the starting lineup. And then suddenly everything else just starts to fall back into place, right? You've got an actual point guard and a floor spacer in the starting lineup. Kevin Durant doesn't have to handle the ball as much. He gets to play off ball. Suddenly the gravity is better for KD and Şengün and Amin Thompson. It opens up driving lanes. You get Amin Thompson playing off ball more, where he's in the dunker spot, where he is absolutely lethal, roaming the baseline like a shark, just waiting to catch lobs or cutting to the rim or attacking the offensive glass. And watching all these pieces kind of settle back into place was both very exciting and fun. And we witnessed the offensive, explosion and how good this team could look over that 8-game win streak. But it was doubly frustrating because it's like, where was this all season? Why did it take 70 some odd games to have the realization that, man, we should put these guys in better positions to be successful and play to their strengths, basically playing to the strengths of the players you have rather than trying to fit square pegs into a round hole is what it kind of felt like a lot of this Rocket season boiled down to, unfortunately.
With that being said, the playoffs raises the stakes. Do you think Ime Udoka will actually trust the best version of the Rockets if it involves the players that he trusts the least?
Will he do trust maxing? You used the maxing before.
Trust maxing. Wow, look at you. I'm so proud of you guys. That's amazing. Look,
You want him to do creativity mogging. I don't know if I did that right.
That was 10 out of 10 no notes. That was incredible, Brian. Look, I wish that I could say with confidence that he would, but I do worry that his default mode is to try to win with defense. We have seen it play out countless times throughout the season where at the end of a game, this Rockets offense will grind to a standstill. And his goal would be to win with defense at all costs and just grind it out. I've jokingly called it like prison hoops at times, watching this team play. It's not fun basketball. And when you have the right personnel, you can play that way. But the Rockets have not been this season. They have not been the same dominant defense that they were last year, where they had a smothering, suffocating defense where they could force you into 4, 5, 6 minute stretches, scoring droughts, because they were just that imposing on the defensive side of the ball. They don't have that this year. They're still a good defense. They're still a top 10 defense, and they've got great defensive specialists and guys like Amin Thompson and Jabari Smith Jr. and Tari Eason, a plethora of wings that they can throw out there, but they're not the same. And that adaptability, that ability to change your approach to the game of basketball as a head coach, you need to be adaptable as a head coach. And that inflexibility is something that you can go back to, and a lot of Celtics fans took exception to when he was the head coach there. A lot of Rockets fans have had issues with it in Houston. And it could potentially be a little bit of a death knell for the Rockets in the playoffs, because one thing that I do think that the Lakers have an advantage on here in the series is the coaching battle. I do worry about Ime Udoka's ability to handle JJ Redick in a head-to-head coaching matchup over the course of a 7-game series.
All right, so we'll get into a few more of the individual matchups, places where maybe Jaxson thinks the Lakers might be able to exploit some potential weaknesses, despite, as you may have heard, not having Luka Doncic and Austin Reaves available. Now, that is not breaking news. That is something that most people are aware of. We'll get to all of it next.
Locked on Lakers and Locked on Rockets, brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are here, where every possession matters, every matchup magnified, every game can swing a series. As of this recording, our friends at FanDuel have the Lakers at 175-1 odds to win the title. The Rockets 60-1. The Thunder, not surprisingly, they are the favorites. FanDuel has them at slightly better than even money. And right now, FanDuel giving new customers a great way to get in on the action. Here's what I like about it. You can bet just $5. You get $250 back in bonus bets if your first bet wins. So pick something really obvious. The app makes it really easy to follow the action with player stats, trends, matchups, all in one place. And during the playoffs, that extra insight really matters when you're looking at stars, role players, key moments. It just makes every playoff experience more engaging from start to finish. Head to FanDuel.com right now to get started. FanDuel, play your game.
Okay, quick word. If you haven't checked out the Everydayer Club, whether you're a Locked On Lakers fan, a Locked On Rockets person, you go to lockedonlakers.supercast.com, lockedonrockets.supercast.com, and you can join the Everydayer Club. $5 a month, $50 a year. Get access to the Discord chats. You talk to us. You talk to Jaxson. You talk to us talking to Jaxson. You have access to all the other hosts as well. Plus, you get the show ad-free, which, according to your emails, which we receive and we read, you would like to have fewer commercials. So this is a way to do it. Jaxson, where do you see, given what we're looking at here with the Lakers, obviously no Luka, obviously no AR. Yes, LeBron has played quite well. He is also 41, and the supporting cast is not necessarily built for this. Where do you see potential vulnerabilities that the Lakers, as they're constructed right now, might be able to poke at?
I think that the biggest one, and this is actually something that I'm glad we're kind of broaching this topic, because I do wonder, is there anything to the idea that without Luka and AR out there, obviously, those guys are not the best defenders, being political about it, or being polite about it. But like, is there something to the idea that the Lakers might just might be able to close some of the gap? Obviously, they're better with those guys for sure, but by playing better defensive pieces in their stead, could they close some of that gap, right? Because I do worry about the Rockets' ability. Turnovers have been their Achilles heel all season long. They don't have a legitimate floor general. Reed Sheppard has moments where he looks awesome and the flashes are there, but he's still incredibly young. He will struggle with ball pressure, things of that nature. Rockets don't have a legitimate safe guard that they can give the ball to make sure that they can initiate cleanly in and out of sets, and turnovers is going to be a big thing. So I do wonder if the Lakers are really able to just dial up that defensive pressure, that can be a way to kind of close some of that talent gap, if you will.
I think it depends on how you're looking at this. If you're talking about pure personnel and having to lean on more defensive guys or more of a defensive identity, enhancing, or emphasizing defense more, the answer could be yes, simply because the Lakers are going to have no other choice. Mm-hmm. And they've actually shown during this period without Luka and Austin, albeit against some weaker competition, but still in terms of trying to crank up an identity. And really, actually, even since the All-Star break, they've been pretty disruptive defensively when they've really put their minds to it, when they've really, they get a lot of deflections. They've been, over the last 10 games, they were top 10 in the league for steals per game. They draw a lot. I mean, granted, some of this was Luka and Austin, so they're going to have to find other ways, but they've drawn a lot of charges. Like, they can do certain things like that, and they're likely going to lean into it because they're going to have no other choice. That being said, though, one of the big defensive disadvantages that they're going to have without Luka and Austin, beyond the charges drawn that I just mentioned, and Luka actually has really quick hands, and he's been terrific this season at getting steals and creating turnovers, is the idea that if their offense doesn't run as well, they're going to give Houston more opportunities to run off misses and not have as much of an opportunity just to set their own defense and to try to do some of the things that they were doing against Houston in the 2 wins in that baseball series, the type of pressure that they were putting on KD and other ball handlers. That is much harder to do if Houston's not taking the ball out of their own basket. So again, it depends on how you look at this. There's no way heading into this series, I think you can think about anything that becomes an advantage because they don't have Luka and Austin, if we're really being real about it. But I do think they are going to lean more into defense. But again, it's more out of survival mode than glass half full.
Where would you, because I think Andy's point about, and by the way, I looked it up. I don't think I used mogging correctly, so apologies to the youths out there. Where do you think, the Lakers? I mean, whether it's the limiting the offensive rebounds, because as Andy points out, they don't have the to maximize the offense. You have to do things like, you're giving Luke Kennard, for example, it's been a great, addition to the team, but you're giving him an uncomfortable amount of minutes. Teams are, if you thought, people picked on Austin Reaves defensively, they really pick on Kennard. And you're exposing him to too many opportunities to get used that way. The hard part, I think, for me in trying to find ways to really feel confident the Lakers have a good chance to do something special here, is just figuring out how you use enough players without Houston kind of taking advantage of them. But there's Rudy can score a little bit, Kennard can score a little bit. I mean, guys are gonna have to play above their station. But ultimately too, LeBron's is gonna have to be I think insanely good throughout the whole series. What do you think the Rockets are going to do there? Is it a matter of throw a bunch of bodies at him, and if we shut down LeBron, the whole thing falls apart, or let LeBron get his 35, 12 and 7, and everybody else has 8? We win each game by 25.
It's funny because we've seen over the years Ime Udoka approach this, a couple different ways when it comes to superstar level players, right? You can either let the star get theirs, right, and shut everybody else down, or load up on the star and try and prevent that star from getting themselves going. I think within aged LeBron James, and the, again, menagerie of wings that the Rockets can throw out there, I think that it's going to be a lot of I think I could see a world where actually the Rockets elect to maybe mix it up a little bit, where they start with keep everybody at home, right? Or sorry, I apologize. Let me flip that. Go aggressive on LeBron early, right? Trying to keep him, out of rhythm, what have you. And then as the game progresses, we've seen Ime Udoka switch up defensive coverages mid-game, like just out of nowhere. And even if it's something feels like it's working, right? Keeping the opposing team on its toes by then switching, and then you're like, okay, well, what's coming next? And I think that the fear, right, the worry is LeBron is so gifted when it comes to dissecting and breaking down a defense that I think a bigger fear of mine would be letting other guys get hot. LeBron can get his when he wants to get his. He can get his against 2 defenders, 3 defenders, whatever. Even at his current age, he's still LeBron James. And there's a part of me that thinks there might be a game or two this series that the Lakers just win just because LeBron is LeBron, if he's got enough left in the tank to do it, right? But if you start letting other guys get confident, get hot, right, see the ball go in the net a couple times, getting some open shots, that becomes a problem. And there's really no world where the Rockets shouldn't, I guess, be able to at least make LeBron's life difficult given their availability of their wings, their overall defensive aptitude, while also while not just like giving up wide open opportunities for the other guys, right? Because you look at like the way that the Lakers have defended Kevin Durant in the past. All right, well, you want to take KD out of the game, send 2 to the ball. Great. Well, it's a 4-on-3 power play for Alperen Sengun and Amin Thompson, right? And that should be a field day for those guys. For LeBron, like if you send 2 to the ball, right? Like who's the threat outside of LeBron, right? Like Lakers have talent, but like that's where you're desperately missing, right? Luka and Reaves, and except in those scenarios, right? It's like Luka with the ball, and then you're outletting it to Reaves or LeBron.
Right. You blitz, and now LeBron's got the ball in his hands with a power play.
Exactly. And so I think that from the defense, from the Rockets' defensive standpoint, I could see it turning into like maybe not like a war of attrition type thing, but just really trying to gas LeBron James as much as possible, because he is going to be doing, as we've already alluded to a lot, right? He has to do so much heavy lifting for the Lakers to have even a remote chance in this series. It feels like an almost insurmountable task. I won't say completely insurmountable, because again, it's LeBron, it's JJ Redick. Like there are reasons that this Lakers team could and possibly might still win this series. But I think that defensively, it's going to be a lot for LeBron to have to deal with. And again, he's going to be checked by Amin Thompson primarily. And that's going to be like, we've seen Amin Thompson put clamps on some of the league's best. He's one of the top 5 defenders in the association.
Throw a lot of bodies at him. Theoretically, you can accomplish both things at once.
Potentially, yeah.
Yeah, you can lock up the other guys while also not allowing LeBron to completely go nuts.
Well, with that in mind, the last question I would have for you, Jaxson, who is somebody not named LeBron James Sr., leaving obviously open the possibility of Bronny, that you think on the Lakers could swing the series in either direction, or that you think could be pivotal in terms of, as you mentioned, the other guys or other guy potentially getting hot?
Who's keeping you up at night?
I feel like it's got to be Rui, right? Like I feel like he becomes the most, correct me if I'm wrong here, guys, but is he not the most dynamic offensive player not named LeBron James now on the roster that's readily available?
Depends on which version of DeAndre Ayton you're getting.
Okay,
if you're getting a fully engaged DeAndre Ayton, or I guess if the Lakers can really find a way to utilize Jaxson Hayes for some just easy, simple points.
He hasn't missed a three-pointer all year. It's worth noting.
And he's shooting like 75% or something this season. Yeah. Like when Jaxson can utilize himself as a role man, he is actually pretty effective.
No, I think from
what are you talking about?
Breadth of skill set, being able to do more than one thing. I think Rui is the answer to that question.
Well, Rui or Ayton. I think Ayton at his best could be it. But why do you think it's Rui in any event, Jaxson?
I just think when you look at this team, it's I guess my question, and this is something that we're going to certainly be covering when I grill you guys on the other end of that. So that's a not so subtle tease for the following episode in this little mini preview series ahead of this first round matchup. I think of like how do the Lakers survive the non-LeBron minutes, right? And I think that like Rui is the guy that my mind immediately goes to. Like they're going to have to rely on him for some offensive production in those probably very sparing, LeBron, on the bench moments. And how does their 2-man game look together? Right? Can he get going offensively early? If he's a no-show, then like, is there going to be any offense from anybody else, right? He's the one guy, and I do think that from the Rockets' perspective, not that like Rui's like I don't want to say like Rui's like a matchup problem, but just I wonder, the Rockets don't have, I guess, they've got a ton of wings. I don't know if they have somebody that's like specifically built to stop Rui in particular. Jabari is long and lanky. Tari Eason's probably like the best like individual one-on-one matchup for Rui. Or even to like a lesser degree, like Şengün has had some success against those like weird, like 6'8", 6'9" kind of tweener forwards at times in the past defensively. So that's the one where I'm just like, how are they going to hold him? Who's going to be the primary defensive assignment on Rui? And is there anything that can be exploited there? He's the name that immediately comes to mind.
Okay.
Locked On Lakers, Locked On Rockets, both found on YouTube. Make sure you check them out. Make sure you check each show. And of course, we'll be back with the opposite, the bizarro version of this show where Jackson's going to grill us about the Lakers. So that is coming up next. So make sure you are watching out for that one. We'll see everyone next time.